Welcome to the news with me, Sibongiriziambo. The headlines. Finance Minister presents 2.3 trillion kwacha 2020-2021 revised budget. Experts say it is not inspiring private sector. President Chakwera calls for promotion of Malawi's Vision 2063 for improved economy. Number of women seeking post-abortion services in public health facilities continues to rise in Lilongwe. In sports, farm affiliates demand clean expenditure in 2021 fiscal budget. Now the news in detail. The Ministry of Finance has presented a revised budget of 2020-2021 fiscal year. The budget is pegged at 2.3 trillion kwacha, up from 2.1 trillion kwacha, and the budget has been adjusted upwards with 144 billion kwacha. Western Guda was at Parliament and filed this report.
In September 2020, the Tonse Alliance administration presented its first national budget, which was pegged at 2.1 trillion kwacha. 6 months down the line, time has come for members of parliament to review the budget, which has now been adjusted upwards with 144 billion kwacha. Presenting the revised budget Friday morning, Finance Minister Felix Mlusu attributed the increase to some unforeseen circumstances, such as the 17 billion kwacha COVID-19 funds, 4.5 billion kwacha meant for re-administering of fresh MSCE exams, and the 7 billion kwacha legal fees for the 2019 presidential election case. However, besides the country sailing through some COVID-19 effects, Mlusu said government has managed to collect about 96% in tax revenue, projected at 5.7 billion kwacha in the first half of the 2020-2021 fiscal year.
We found, some areas where they were very pressing in excess of, 5 billion. So all these, put together, and they were not in the budget. These are the ones that have affected our need to revise the budget.
DPP parliamentary spokesperson on finance, Joseph Mwanamveka, has since described the budget as conceptual and not giving hope to Malawians.
It depends on COVID-19. It also depends on the donor support that we get. If we don't get donor support, it also affects the foreign exchange reserves. And if we don't get that, it means also the exchange rate will not be able to stabilize the economy.
Members of Parliament are expected to review all allocations to state agencies and ministries before passing it for use in the remaining 6 months of the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Reporting for Zodiac, this is Western Guta.
Economic experts have faulted government for failing to put in place sound measures that would inspire players in the private sector recover from economic effects of COVID-19 for the sake of the country's economy. Dr. Bechani Chereni from the Malawi Polytechnic and Lorraine Nyasulu from Economics Association of Malawi, ECAMA, are of the opinion government should have put mechanisms to minimize trade deficit and domestic borrowing, which has surpassed 300 billion kwacha. Finance Minister Felix Mlusu today presented in Parliament a revised 2020-2021 national budget of 2.3 trillion kwacha, up from 2.1 trillion kwacha. Andrew Viano gave us his report.
Finance Minister Felix Mlusu Friday presented the mid-year budget review for the 2020-2021 fiscal year, which has now been pegged at 2.3 trillion kwacha, up from 2.1 trillion kwacha. The budget has seen wages and salaries getting the lion's share of the financial appropriation plan, now at 525 billion kwacha, from 523 billion kwacha that was allocated last year. Overall, the financial plan has seen expenditures up by about 140 billion kwacha to cover the emergency costs that have recently arisen. But reacting to the mid-year financial plan by Tonse Alliance government, Polytechnic-based economic expert Dr. Bechani Chereni has faulted the financial plan for failing to inspire the private sector.
We were expecting that maybe we would see some incentives to be undertaken, incentives that would push companies to produce more from within the country, because it is when they are producing more that we get more tax revenue. Otherwise, government business does not have to be crippled because we don't have resources. That cannot be all right.
Economics Association of Malawi President Lorraine Nyasulu is worried that trade deficit continues to widen.
Our companies have been struggling because here it means that we're not exporting as much as we should as a country, but also it means that even the countries that are in these businesses have not been doing that well. So the trade balance continues to widen, And this is something that I think moving forward, even maybe in the next budget, government should come up clear on what measures can be put in place to incentivize the private sector, but also to start addressing the structural constraints that are there in our economy for us to be able to start reducing the trade balance that is currently existing.
On failure by Malawi Revenue Authority (MRA) to collect the projected revenues locally, business and tax expert Kevin Mpande suggests it's high time the tax collecting body change the approach in tax collection.
You know, the economy is very bad. If the economy is very bad, it affects the businesses. When the business is affected, it shall mean that they will not make more money, which will lead to paying more taxes. So at the end of the day, MRA will end up collecting less. There is also what we call corruption. Corruption, it can be also one of the factors. People, instead of going to pay tax, they are doing corrupt practices with the officers, maybe ending up reducing the taxes. The tax rates also, which if we can expand it, you find that it's part of the corruption also. It's related. You find that the tax rates in Malawi, they're too high.
Members of Parliament are expected to start scrutinizing the allocations from next week before approving them.
President Lazarus Chakwera, who is now Chancellor for Mzuzu University, has implored on youths in the country to be implementers of the Malawi's Vision 2063, a national development blueprint for improved economy. Speaking at Grand Palace Hotel in Mzuzu during a virtual 22nd congregation, President Chakwera has since challenged the graduating students to take a leading role in championing change in the country. About 1,186 students have graduated from Mzuzu University on Friday. Alex Banda reports.
Speaking for the first time as Chancellor for Mzuzu University, President Lazarus Chakwera charged the Mzuzu University graduates to be panaceas to the country through the development blueprint Malawi 2063. The president said to the graduates attending the virtual 22nd congregation that the future for Malawi is captured in the Malawi's vision of 2063 and that each graduate should take responsibility by advancing this dream to be realized. Speaking area Vice Chancellor for Mzuzu University, Professor John Galengasaka, said his institution has formed a 15-member team to align their programs to the 2063 agenda.
Is to establish a group of 15 members, largely of youth for academics and other staff, so that we can relate our envisioning in relation to the Malawi Vision 2063. So we engaged, and there is a team which is discussing that matter, and that once they have had the first report, then they will share with us, and we should be monitoring how we are contributing to the successful implementation towards the Vision 2063.
Chakwera said his government is committed to supporting learning institutions that have problem-solving programs. Qualifying this, the president said his government allocated 1.3 billion kwacha in the 2020-2021 national budget towards the construction of a library and an auditorium at Mzuzu University. President said his government has also allocated 200 million kwacha for furniture and other equipment for the tourism and hospitality department at the university. One of the graduating students, Silvia Jitseko, a land surveying graduate, says she will go into the world to create more jobs for other Malawians.
Like we came out with so many, we're having ideas, so many ideas. So when you go out there, we'll be able to create creating jobs for other people, not just waiting to be employed.
About 1,186 students have graduated at Mzuzu University on Friday. For Zodiac, this is Alex Banda.
Vice President Dr. Saulos Chilima has implored Malawi Engineering Institution Board to intensify monitoring and discipline engineers in the country responsible for substandard works on development projects using the 2020 MIE Act. Speaking when he virtually opened the annual general meeting for the Malawi Engineering Institution, Dr. Chilima said the board should utilize the act to promote quality and durable developments in the country. In an interview, member of the Transition Committee for the institution, Engineer David Mzandu, attributed the poor infrastructure development to use of outdated laws that could not allow them to intervene on poor construction works. There are divisions in Teachers Mothers Body, Teachers Union of Malawi TUM, with some calling off a nationwide teacher strike and others opposing this, saying a consensus on the matter has not been reached. On Thursday, TUM Vice President Rahima Harid announced that the industrial action has been called off. But in an interview with Zodiac Friday, TUM President William Malimba said the decision to call off the strike is illegal, arguing the union president and secretary have not approved it. Meanwhile, education expert Benedito Kondowe has warned if this continues, education delivery in the country will be affected. Andrew Viano filed this report.
Cracks have emerged in the teachers' body Teachers Union of Malawi as a group of teachers has called off sitting to pave way for dialogue with government, while another stands its ground to continue with the industrial action until government addresses the contentious issue of risk allowance. The division follows government's decision not to include teachers for provision of COVID-19 risk allowance. TUM President Wide Malimba has told us that the decision to call off strike is illegal, as the constitution of the teachers' body states that only him and secretary can make such decisions, contrary to what happened Thursday.
I'm not endorsing my signature. In TUM, we have a constitution. The constitution is clearly saying that letters of such type should be signed by the Secretary General and the President. I was the one to sign that one because the Secretary General is not around. On my side, I'm saying the strike has not been suspended. We gather together and make agreement together.
Malawi Congress of Trade Union MCT General Secretary Dennis Kalekeni has since called on TUM leadership to put their house in order if they have to make bargaining power on their demands.
And let the leadership address their challenges, address their differences. One other thing that I must be quick to come in is that when you are dealing with issues of labor, when we are dealing with issues of industrial actions, there must always be a clear message that is coming out, outside any political inclination and any political influence.
Education expert Benedicto Kondowe has since called on government to put their hands off TUM leadership, as that will affect education in the country.
I believe that such concession should be willful. It should not be imposed, because that undermines the human rights that entities have within the freedom of association and freedom of expression. So we are very, very worried because the current developments at TUM are sending a very bad signal.
Schools in the country were reopened Monday after a 5-week suspension caused by a surge in COVID-19 cases.
As debate on whether or not the country should legalize safe abortion, health authorities in Lilongwe say the increasing cases of women, including teen mothers, that seek post-abortion services in public health facilities. Lilongwe District Nursing Midwifery Officer Betha Mwale Kaudza told us that, for instance, while a hospital records at least 5 abortion cases per day, most of them induced by pregnancy complications and sexually transmitted infections. The Family Planning Association of Malawi FIPAM has since called off intensified efforts in protecting lives of mothers who require safe abortion services in the country. And you're watching News on Zodiac. We'll be right back shortly. Stand by.
ShopRite has always been here for you, and our promise to bring you low prices when what you need most will never change. Buy 375 grams cloves and black oil mayonnaise only 1,399 kwacha 99 tambala, and 500 grams flour gold fat spread only 599 kwacha 99 tambala. We are also doing the best we can to ensure that you have a safe shopping experience. So be sure to follow all safety protocols in store. ShopRite, lower prices you can trust. Always.
For a better tomorrow, don't forget to do the 1, 2, 3 with Colgate every night.
I'm a mechanical engineer, and I lead teams. Studying for a PhD with UNICAF University has improved my leadership skills. I can apply everything I learn at my workplace. The teams I lead now are the best. With my tight schedule and heavy workload, there is no other way I could have earned a PhD. Thanks to UNICAF University. Soon, I'll be Dr. Conceptor.
If there's one thing that all soaps do, it's wash. From buckets to basins, bathrooms to streams, and everything in between.
All soaps wash.
Yes, but Protex is different. Its reinvented formula with flaxseed oil boosts your skin's natural anti-germ defenses by 10 times more, protecting you against 99.9% of germs. So what keeps us healthy?
Protex!
Good health starts here.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the headlines as we continue the news. Finance Minister presents 2.3 trillion kwacha 2020-21 revised budget. Experts say it is not inspiring private sector. President Chakwera calls for promotion of Malawi's Vision 2063 for improved economy. Number of women seeking post-abortion services in public health facilities continues to rise in Lilongwe. In sports, farm affiliates demand clean expenditure in 2021 fiscal budget. Moving on with the news, authorities have blamed low turnout of people in the ongoing voter registration and verification exercise for the upcoming March 30th parliamentary and local government by-elections on inadequate voter civic education. With under 9 days remaining to conclude the exercise, Zodiac spot checks in wards and constituencies where the by-elections will be held in Mulanje, Chikwawa and Karonga have found that few people are showing up, raising fears of a voter apathy. Essence Jumani reports from Mulanje.
The voter registration and verification exercise launched some 4 days ago in 7 constituencies and 2 hours continues to experience low turnout. For example, at Njeza Primary School Center, the supervisor there, Montfort Stolo, said by close of business on Wednesday, 2 people registered their names in the voters' roll and 15 people had verified their names.
The turnout was somehow poor, maybe because there was no publication. We are expecting a good turnout from today onwards.
And Rapson Chito, who is supervisor at Londadale, said only 2 people registered their names and 49 verified their names by close of business on Wednesday.
Well, what I can say is that publicity has not taken place here. Our friends from NICE haven't gone far with their publicity.
The situation is similar in Chikwawa and Karonga, as reported by our reporters Christopher Sunday and Adams Mundaninge, respectively. But in Chisi North, according to our reporter there, Gift Dupimba, the turnout has been impressive. National Initiative for Civic Education, NICE, which is key in mobilizing eligible voters to participate in elections, hopes the turnout will peak towards closing days. Saiti Zwalina Chwapolo is NICE district officer in Mulanje.
We are also acknowledging that the turnout rate has been low. But we anticipate that come the 4th day, we should be seeing a turn in the statistics. In that we are hopeful that people will start to trickle to the centers as we track towards the closing line.
Meanwhile, our visit to the centers, we observed partial adherence to COVID-19 prevention measures. We saw some mixed staff and party monitors not wearing face masks. For Zodiac, this is Hastings Chimani reporting.
Kasungu District Hospital on Friday received 6 oxygen concentrators worth 9 million kwacha courtesy of the Gwirani Manja AIDS Support Organization in the district. The Executive's Director Peter Minjale says the donation is to support efforts of saving lives in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic at the facility after he himself survived from the disease. Director of Health and Social Services, Dr. Emmanuel Golombe, says the oxygen concentrators were a timely relief to the family. Noam Kobi reports.
The 6 oxygen concentrators have a capacity of producing 10 liters of oxygen per minute. K2 the Granimanja AIDS Support Organization Executive Director Peter Minjale says he requested support from a US-based charity organization, Bridges to Malawi, after himself recovered from COVID-19. He says while in the COVID-19 treatment center at Kasungu District Hospital, he observed that the critical shortage of oxygen was hampering efforts of health workers dedicated to save lives.
Kasungu being one of the districts which has been hit by COVID-19, we thought it wise to play a role in terms of managing the coronavirus disease here in Kasungu District. And also considering that myself, I'm one of the survivors of this COVID-19, because I was found COVID-19 positive on 24th January, and I even got admitted here at Kasungu District Hospital from 31st January to 7th February. And looking at the care which I received here, I was very much grateful to the members of staff for all the good care they had offered to me.
Director of Health and Social Services for Kasungu, Dr. Emmanuel Golombe, reacts to the donation.
Oxygen is quite important in the management of COVID-admitted cases. Over the past 1 month, we have been struggling because the supply was quite low, the demand was high. But with these concentrators, we hope the oxygen issue will be reduced. What I can say, these concentrators can give up to 10 liters, unlike maybe some concentrators which can give just up to 5 liters.
According to Minjari, the oxygen concentrators are to a tune of 9 million Malawi kwacha. Kasungu District Hospital is a referral facility of over 900,000 people. From Kasungu, this is Noah Nkubwi reporting.
A court in the Chinese city of Hong Kong has sentenced a Malawian woman, Estina Mukasela, to 24 years in jail for drug trafficking offense. Mukasela has been in prison on prison remand in China since her arrest in 2018. Meanwhile, Human Rights Consultative Committee has asked government to engage a Chinese counterpart to consider swapping the woman with the owner of the drugs once apprehended, saying her health condition is deteriorating. At least 700 needy students at Polytechnic in Blantyre are struggling to access online classes as the college has inadequate gadgets for the same. Polytechnic Principal Nase Chitela told Zodiak Thursday that the development is affecting lessons, calling on well-wishers to support the needy students with the gadgets. Meanwhile, the college has launched Buy a Gadget campaign in a drive to rescue the needy students. Chitela speaks to our reporter.
Pandemic amidst us, we do not want to close the institution. We do not want to close even the education. We want to continue with whatever we have planned for our students. That's the first thing, okay? Because we cannot close forever. We don't know when this pandemic is going to clear, one. The second thing we are doing so is because we don't want to close, then we have moved to what we are calling it emergency remote teaching and learning. And then in the emergency remote teaching and learning, we need two things. The gadget, it can be a laptop, it can be a tablet, it can be a good phone. Whatever it is that a student can use to access the lessons online. So we need the gadgets. Apart from the gadgets, we need the data bundles. Okay, so we are launching this campaign because amidst us, we have students that are not able to buy this particular gadget. And us as a public institution, we have to cover everybody, whether rich or poor. And therefore, we have to come forward and help those that are needy so that they are not left behind, but we are all together in this particular education. So that's the second thing. The third thing that we are doing this is because the trend worldwide is most of the universities, if not all, they have now gone online because they have also realized that they cannot close forever. We have quite a number of students. For now, the figures that we have and the names that we have collected amongst us is now more than 700.
Let's now go to sports news. Football Association of Malawi's affiliates say they will nod to the association's 2021 fiscal budget if there are comprehensive explanations on last year's allocations. Another round of the budget meeting is expected in Blantyre next week, almost a month after the affiliates turned down Chiwembe's proposal of 2 billion kwacha expenditure due to what they termed gross financial indiscipline. In this year's budget, there are also allocations for the Flames Africa Cup of Nations and Kusafa Cup assignments. Sambana reports.
Southern Region Football Association's chairperson Raphael Humba has, for instance, questioned the Secretariat's motive in allocating some funds for Luinga Technical Center in Mzuzu when there is no clear explanation on how the 100 million kwacha, which the facility was allocated in last year's budget, was spent with nothing concrete to show off.
FAM allocated about 100 million to Luinga. If you go to Luinga now, there is nothing which has done on the ground. Where this 100 million has gone to? Why they transfer that money to other locations? How do we expect this year's budget to prevail?
The affiliates also took FAM's secretariat to task over several dubious expenditures, including the 75 million kwacha allocation for 3 secretariat vehicles only and another 56 million kwacha allocation for the maintenance of the vehicles. Central Region Football Association's General Secretary Bernard Chiwiriwiri Harawa says an institution of public interest like FAM has to be accountable and prudent in financial management.
We want them to explain those things in detail. They made some proposals, and to our surprise, some of the things that were agreed upon were not fulfilled, but they were just giving us fresh figures. So we want some clarification as per agreement. Our friends should sit down and make some clarifications.
FAM's competitions and media manager Gomeziani Zakazaka, whilst confirming of next week's budget consultative meeting, says the Finance and Administration Subcommittee has been brainstorming on rectifying the anomalies which the affiliates noted during the first presentation.
What has to be appreciated is that the report that was being requested has been worked on and is ready for presentation, I would say, when the day has been agreed on when that should be done.
In its annual fiscal budget, FAM says 2 billion kwacha would be enough to cater for the Flames assignments in the COSAFA Cup as well as the Africa Cup of Nations and other competitions for the women and junior teams.
That's it for now. Let's take a look at the headlines before we leave. Finance Minister presents 2.3 trillion kwacha 2020-2021 revised budget. Experts say it is not inspiring private sector. President Chakwera calls for promotion of Malawi's Vision 2063 for improved economy. Number of women seeking post-abortion services in public health facilities continues to rise in Lilongwe. In sports, farm affiliates demands clean expenditure in 2021 fiscal budget. Visit our website, news and other stories. My name is Sibongini Ziambo. Goodbye.
Showmax. You've heard the name, but what exactly is Showmax? Well, it's an online streaming service that's packed with the very best in international and local